Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthew Williams, soccer director for America Scores Cleveland, often referred to as Coach Matthew. Again, I'm being joined today by Coach Ramona, Ramona Paul, who is program coordinator with America Scores Cleveland. We're continuing our four-part series on positions, and we have covered goalkeepers. We will be covering midfielders and forwards in future videos, but today we are going to be discussing defenders and their role and their importance on the field. So Ramona, what do you see as the biggest factor, the important roles of the defender in regards to the soccer?
So positionally, they are one line ahead of the goalkeeper. So that means their job is to protect the goal, but also to protect the goalkeeper, to stop a little bit of action coming their way if they can avoid having the goalkeeper need to make a save. So anything they can do in that regard to kind of delay or push back an attack from the other team is really part of their a main part of their job. It's really important for defenders to stay organized, maybe more so than anywhere else on the field. You have to be a little bit more rigid about where you move compared to your other defenders. Like we mentioned in the goalkeeping video, communication is a huge factor because you're still fairly far back as far as the lines of soccer positions go, so you have quite a good view. But really, the side of defending that maybe people don't talk about as much is once you've won the ball back, which we can talk about in a minute, then you're really starting the attack. So once you've won that ball for your team, then you can be the first line of positions that starts the attack going forward. So although your job is mainly you might say your first job is to protect, then it's to win the ball back, but then it's to go and start something else with it.
So just to kind of jump into a little bit about with defending, you talked earlier about like kind of being that line of defense to the goal, really helping the goalie. I think one thing I see, especially with young players, is this idea like I have to stand back, like right at the top of the penalty box because I have to help defend and stop the ball from getting into the goal. And, instead of kind of playing with the flow of the game, how do you see something like that where defenders are standing so far back in regards to the play?
I think that is just something that we're slowly, as a global soccer culture, kind of trying to work out of players, because traditionally do say you defend the goal and these guys try and score. But in reality, if your team has the ball, you're all attacking. And if your team doesn't have the ball, you're all defending. So trying to get kids to understand that we want you to be connected, because you might be able to defend on the halfway line. You might be able to win the ball back from the other team close to their goal. So you're only doing yourself a favor by being pushed up. If the ball is towards the goal you're trying to score in and your team has it down there, go ahead and push up, because you might be a valuable asset for them to pass back to. Or if your team loses the ball, then instead of trying to win the ball back in front of your own goal and possibly causing a shot, you have a chance of winning it back in a less dangerous area.
Right. So you're talking a lot about like the idea of pushing up or pushing back, which in reference to a field, you think about the goal being behind you, that's the back, and the goal you're trying to score in is the front. So pushing up towards that into the attack or pushing back to defend. So how do you see like the physical skills that a defender needs to possess to really play the position well?
So because ideally you would want your defenders pushing up and connecting with the other lines and being a part of the play, then speed becomes involved, because anytime you might need to come back, or the term we could use for that is recover, which means coming back towards your own goal, you might be racing somebody to get there. So speed is a huge asset, because that means you can move forward with the play and you still have the ability to come back. Now, in defending, often you'll have a 1v1, so it's Coach Ramona versus Coach Matthew. I need to be strong if I
Right.
want to try and win that ball from you. And I've used the phrase win the ball from you, and I can change that to the word that people understand as tackling.
Okay.
And tackling is a skill that it needs to be practiced over a long time. You find that when players are young, they might struggle to not foul. It can be a little bit sloppy, but that will come with time and with practice. So
Right.
tackling or winning the ball back really means that you're not trying to do anything to the other player. You are only trying to win the ball, which means
Right.
that's what you're concentrated on. And
Yeah.
ideally, when you're doing this, you are between the ball and the goal that they're trying to score in. So that's also what we mean by recover. So you
Right.
want to put your body in between the ball and the goal that you're defending. And that way, if you do win the ball, you have a better chance of being able to do something else with it.
Right. Right. So just to take it back again, the term tackling is not the same as tackling on a football field. We're not physically taking the player to the ground and stopping them, but we're essentially stopping the ball by using our feet to take the ball away from another player. So you used a lot of terms in there: speed, strength, agility. I think one of the kind of humorous things to me myself is when in youth soccer we think like, oh, I want all my fast kids up front, and then somehow I'm going to put my slower players in the back. But if everyone's putting their fast kids up front and they're going against slower kids, that strategically it doesn't make any sense. Like you want all of your players, you want to spread out their skills and their abilities around the field.
Absolutely.
So we talk about the physical skills. What about some of the mental sides of it? What does a defender kind of need to possess, from a characteristic standpoint, to play the position?
I would say probably, a lot of what we said about goalkeepers, about being focused and concentrated and resilient. But a really, really big thing for defending is having patience. Because often, if you play against somebody who even has a little bit of experience, if I just stick my foot out and try and win the ball, then they've hopefully been practicing their foot skills and they can get past me. So it's
Right.
being patient and waiting for that other person to make a decision that then you can deal with. So I think that's probably where most players will run into a little bit of trouble. They just kind of go flying in to try and tackle, and then the person is behind them instantly. So having a little bit of patience, and then, like we said, having that strength and that speed, being composed, those are really, really important. But also having the awareness of when you can go and help, that nobody, this is probably my biggest slogan for soccer, is that nobody stands still. Even the goalkeeper can be moving back and forth with the play, but defenders then even more. They've got to be up when the ball's up and back when the ball's back. So that's really important that they stay connected with the rest of their team. And it's very hard to stay connected if you're not disciplined and you're not paying attention. So those are really, really important characteristics.
Yeah. I love the patience factor because, oftentimes I think as players, young players especially, you see that ball and you just kind of like, oh, coach wants me to get that ball. I'm supposed to take that ball away and we're supposed to start the attack. But sometimes you have to kind of wait. And it's almost like, see if the forward makes a mistake first, and then capitalize on that and win the ball. And then I think along with patience is like you need to be confident in who you are as a player and your team to be patient. So I think the patience and the confidence is definitely are two factors that really play into it. So again, as a coach, young players or players in general, I hear them say things like, well, I don't want to play defender because I want to score goals. What would your answer to be, to a comment like that from a young player?
Oh, that's definitely something that you as a coach will tend to hear a lot. But first thing I would say is that anybody can score. you can find any video, any position that you can think of has scored a goal at some point. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And that might be just having pushed up as a defender that all of a sudden the ball comes to you and you can shoot. But the other thing is that scoring a goal is not the only way to get glory in soccer. Personally, I like assisting or just helping to create a circumstance where someone does score. But as a defender, blocking can be very, very satisfying. Being able to be patient and have the right timing to stick your foot or your leg out just at the moment where someone else thinks that they're going to get a nice clean hit or a clean strike. And even the noise, the thud, the whack of it hitting your foot and then going the other direction can just feel so good. And depending on the game or the situation, making a block or a stop like that could be equal to scoring a goal. Definitely. So there are really, really important ways that as a defender you can contribute to that glory. And as probably another one of my slogans, being that soccer is a team sport, not an individual sport. So we, enjoy all the glory as a team. We get through all the hardships as a team. So in that respect, as a defender, you are always part of it. But you can do have these individual moments that can be equal to something as exciting as scoring a goal, which can be really, really cool to remind players that that's possible. Yeah,
I love that imagery. That comes with that blocking a shot. That like that thud. There's no more distinct sound than stopping a shot on the soccer field. So thinking about the positions and how we play, I think, in my opinion, as a coach, I really like to see my defenders take the throw-ins, because what it does is it allows, since they're kind of like behind, if we're thinking of positions behind everyone, it allows more opportunities for the person throwing the ball to have. So if I can, now look and I can see, anywhere from 3 to 4 to maybe even 5 players in front of me that I can now throw the ball to, I have a lot more options than if, I have a midfielder or a forward taking the throw in and then defenders standing back. So that idea of getting into the attack, and then you're really, you're participating in the game. And I think another key one, talking about everyone can really shoot on goal and score, is on corner kicks, and having my defenders at least maybe one kind of creep up and have that opportunity for the longer shot. I think is another key opportunity. Even if it's not a shot, it could be an assist. So I think defenders definitely play a key role. Yes, they kind of have that their first priority is to help the goalie and is to defend the goal and not, kind of not let goals score. But they are not isolated on the field. They can play, they can push up, they can be active in the game. So, I think defenders, it's a great position. It's a great role. It's a needed role. And again, as a coach, allowing players to play different positions, learn new skills, appreciate maybe a role on the field that they're not as used to, I think is a big key, especially with young players and as we're developing them. So, defenders are definitely an important factor in the game and should not be looked at as a lesser of a position on the field.
I think the best way to really think about it is, like we've said, they might be, they're the second to last line of defense, but they can be that first line of attack. So as soon as that ball is won back, then you play a role in helping to get it forward.
Definitely.
So then you kind of see where you fit into that spectrum of transition and how the game goes on. But there's always, every position on the field is very important, but the closer you are to your own goal, there's a little bit more pressure. So I think that maybe it can help coaches with their players to get them to understand that you might not have the direct job of scoring a goal, but you've got a lot of responsibility doing other things. And instead of always putting players in there that can do it, it's putting players in there who might learn some of these skills about being composed and being calm you might find you have a little bit more time with the ball, and that can help with your confidence. So really letting players, as you said, try positions all over the field, because they might find that they gain some of those skills that come along with it.
Definitely. All right, so we will continue with future lessons in regards to positioning, but remember that playing defender is not something that isolates you on the field, that you should get involved and play in all aspects of the game. So, all right, we'll see you next time.